Driving to save the world from the evil Decepticons, the heroic Autobots are led by Optimus Prime. He's more than meets the eye. He's a Rohan in disguise.
Rohan? Who is this guy? Rohan? The one and only Rohan!
Thank you guys, hello everyone and welcome back to Rohan's Corner, and this week I am doing a review, my very first through the generations review of Newage, Cyclonus, or Tier. At the same time I figured why not pull out the Magic Square Transporter upgrade pack, which I picked up ages ago and actually finally managed to put together. So why not look at them together, because Cyclonus and Ultra Magnus, it's the epic battle. Join me on this quest. Starting off with the boxes, we have a traditional New Age rectangular box with some nice artwork. Not really sure what the box is supposed to be reminiscent of. Sometimes they do video games and such like, and other kind of cool nostalgic elements, but this one just seems to be a box with Cyclonus on the front in the clouds walking along. One thing I didn't like about the way Cyclonus was packaged was that the figure itself comes in this clamshell inside, which is nice enough, but it comes in a baggie, and the baggie does not make it look very nice. It makes it look kind of cheap and plasticky. We've got a nice picture on the top here, the New Age legendary heroes, and again the back of the toy with some of the revenge ship, which would be cool to see if New Age or someone else did any of that. On the side, same thing again, images, and on the bottom images. And for Magic Square's Transporter, it's a massive box for what is essentially a bunch of bits, let's be honest, that just attached to the figure of the Ultra Magnus character, the White Prime if you like. Got a nice display of Magnus. This is a traditional Magic Square box with their imaging point on the bottom, their little logo here with some massive label. Just a very high level image of what you're getting, which is the transporter parts. No cab included in this set. Nothing here, and nothing there, except for the warning. Taking a look at the figures themselves, they do look nice out of the packaging. Obviously, Magic Square's Ultra Magnus Transporter does not come like this. He comes in alternate mode, i.e. in his trailer mode, and as you take him out of the package, he falls apart because he is a parts former. Let's be totally honest, there are buttloads of parts. In fact, even though I've put him together, there's still loads more parts in a baggie here full of accessories and weapons that you can attach to him, which I'm not going to bother because it doesn't have a G1 aesthetic. Whereas on the flip side, New Age's Cyclonus, looking shiny as hell there, comes also in alternate mode, but just him with his two weapons and fists and replacement opening hands. Interestingly enough, I don't know if this is just me or if this is everyone, his fists were not attached, so when you transform him, you're looking for his hands and you're like, oh, they're on the peg. You have to actually take them off and attach them. I managed to pick up these beauties for a reasonable price. The Magic Square Ultra Magnus Transporter set I managed to snag for 20 quid on eBay, which was a bit of a bargain, let's be honest. The New Age Cyclonus I picked up from Show Z, it was about $60 I believe, but I got refunded another $10 in the sale that's going on at the moment. Worth checking out. Eagle-eyed viewers among you will have seen that my Teletran 1 iGear set has been upgraded with some lush stickers that I purchased from Toy Hacks or repo labels, whatever you want to call them, just to give it a bit more zing. We'll get into the scale later, but just from an aesthetic appeal, you can see that the New Age figure is nice and slender, everything's tucked away and well hidden, especially in that backpack, which actually is very G1 reminiscent. It looks really cool. The Ultra Magnus figure also is well stored, but it is a bulky guy that kind of fits with the character, to be honest with you, and they don't have lots of kibble, but obviously with Magnus being a parts former, bits and pieces may fall off. They don't fit particularly 100% together. There are a couple of gaps here and there, and overall I'm happy with both of them. In traditional Magic Square fashion, the plastic is slightly gummy, it's slightly matte finish on the paint, so it's a bit of a dull sort of finish, whereas obviously Newage has their metallic flack in their paintwork, which makes the figure pop. I do wish Newage's Cyclonus was a bit taller so that they could be a bit more level pegging in terms of having their classic fight scenes. I suppose one good thing about doing this review is it's finally given me the push to get this guy out of the box. Quick scale comparison through the generations. Generation 1 Ultra Magnus with painted face, the KOOS MFT version of Magic Square's Delta Magnus on the right there, the Transporter 2.0 in the middle, Papa Toys Ultra Magnus Legends scale in the middle there, and on the left the Kingdom Magnus I've just opened. It seems MS 2.0 lines up pretty much effectively with MFT's KOOS of Magic Square's version 1. I didn't actually have the Magic Square version 1 Magnus, but I do believe he was a bit smaller. So I just have the 4 Cyclonus to compare. Kingdom on the right, Newage, Magic Square's variant, their version 1, which I presume they're going to update because the alt mode isn't perfect, and then the Generation 1 Cyclonus, this is the non-Target Master version, which leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest. I did previously have the Mech Fans Toys Cyclonus, Universe Cyclonus, Armada and the John Cybertron Cyclonus, all those other bots, but I sold them all. Here we have the bot mode comparison with Coronation Chicken, Voyager / Leader Scale, the Red Series Soundwave, G2 / Machine Wars Hubcap, the 2 figures in question, Magnus and Cyclonus, Newage's Brawn X Transbot's tiny little Perceptor, the little spike dude I always carry around, Newage's Insecticon Kickback, Magic Square's Hound, McFan's Toys Blitzwing, and the Generations Puffer from the Golden Disc pack. In terms of scaling, I think that the Magnus seems to be about right compared to MFT, a little bit tall compared to Newage. The Cyclonus seems to be quite well scaled in terms of comparison with the Magic Squares Hound or with the mini bots. Right, getting these into this position was a bit of a faff, but anyway, the transformation for Cyclonus is really intuitive. In fact, I think that Newage have taken a lot of their cues from the Magic Square's Space Skimming figure on the right there. We can see from the alt modes here that actually normally I would side with Generation 1 having the best alt mode, but in this case, Generation 1 Cyclonus was pretty trash in both robot mode and alt mode, not the best at all. Kingdom Cyclonus does a nice job, although I have issues with the flaps here, that they don't close up properly and you leave a big gap. So for me, Newage Cyclonus is the best looking alt mode by far. The Magic Square version 1 is, yeah, not great. I think they will update it in the future now that Newage have done theirs. Okay, here's Transporter mode. That was a bit of faff to transform, let's be honest. There's about 60 pieces, and when you're transforming it, they all want to pop off all the time. But ultimately, once it's done, it does look good, and it isn't too fiddly or too falling apart. Some of it is logical, and actually it does hold together pretty well as long as you put it together pretty well, and it does roll, as you can see. If we look at the comparison against the other Legends, Papa Toys is much bigger here, McFan's Toys KO of Magic Square's original one is much smaller, and then obviously you've got the G1 in the background, which is still big, and we've got Kingdom, which is just naff. But ultimately, I think it looks the best. Would I be displaying him in this mode very frequently? Probably not. I'll probably have him in robot mode and potentially have the Papa Toys one in alt mode. Alt mode comparisons then, we have a comparison with G2 Ironhide with Magic Square's Jazz. He looks like he could fit within the transporter if I actually bother to take the time. Possibly not because of the kibble here. We have Newage's Optimus Prime, who could actually carry this transporter, to be honest with you, relatively easily. it does sort of work, maybe slightly small. We have the Magic Square Bumblebee, which is obviously well proportioned compared to Newage's Cyclonus and to the Transport and Legacy Bulkhead, just for show. Right, well, there we have it, folks. The final frontier, the epic fisticuffs battle between Newage Cyclonus and Magic Square's Transporter version 2 Ultra Magnus. They are both excellent figures. This figure is dependent on your Ultra Magnus. This one's a little bit floppy and doesn't hold its poses so well. This figure is phenomenal all round. They have stolen some of the engineering from other companies. Even Hasbro have stolen some of the engineering from the third-party companies on the Ultra Magnus and on the Cyclonus molds, I would say. They do line up a little bit out of scale, but they work really well together. If I were picking a Legends collection to go in my display today with just one of each, I would pick these two by far. If you can get them for good value money, then you're doing well. Shozy have these guys on special offer, so check it out. For another week, I've been Rohan on Rohan's Corner. I hope you've enjoyed this Through the Generations review with so many bots. It's taken me hours to transform them all. Enjoy. Catch you again next week. Back to the studio.
Transformers, Rohan's in disguise.